that could be more important than record.
Well, we're recording.
Okay, so accepting. Today is about accepting. And I think that we all understand about accepting because some of you have been through a divorce, some of you have lost jobs, but all of us are going through COVID and have lost some mobility, some ability to get out. And so I think that talking about accepting is really important, because here's what I know is that if you can't accept that this is the way things are right now, you use all your energy to fight it. All of your energy. You're always talking about it. You're always thinking about how it affects this part of your life and this part of your life, that somebody else got called back to work and you didn't get called back, but you should have gotten called back first. You've got to accept it. You have to accept that this is how life is now and move forward, because if you don't accept it, you spend all of your energy thinking about it, being angry about it, being frustrated, thinking of things that you could do about it. You use all that energy on a negative thing, and you have no energy to deal with today, and you are going to be sick. Renee and I were talking about this early on. She got on really early, and people are sick from fear. And that is going to be happening to us. We're going to get sick if we can't accept the way things are right now, whether it's with our health, with how our hair looks, with where we're living, with the car we're driving, with our finances.
Neatly, roll your t-shirts are neatly.
That this is where we are right now.
With a tie-dye.
Oh, hi, Lapita.
Where's the bottom? Hello.
Hello, Lapita.
Hi, guys.
So we need to just accept that this is where we are. And this is, to me, the most important thing I can tell you today is that we will spend our energy, our life force, thinking about what angers us. And we won't have any of that life force to help us live positive lives or live. Because Renee was also saying, look at all the people who are dying from fear. It's just fear is making them sick. So we need our energy for today, and then we can be healthy. Now, in I Chi, since many of you are I Chiers, we go through a visualization in I Chi. And when we've finished with gathering and soothing, we go to accepting. And accepting, we open both our arms and we accept everything the world has to give us. That includes those wonderful, joyful moments like the wedding that Sharon just had. And that includes the health problems that I know that two of you have cancer in your families. And it includes those difficulties and going through those difficulties during COVID. So we have to accept that's how it is. But the next step in I Chi says accepting with grace. And that's way harder to do in I Chi because you have to go from 2-footed stance to 1. It's way harder to do in life. That we would accept that our marriage is ending with gratitude. That we would accept that we are isolated, alone at home with gratitude. That we have to accept that somebody else got our job and we're not going to have that financial stability anymore with gratitude. That's the tough one. To accept it with gratitude. And you can't go there until you've done accepting so that you have that energy to move forward. And then you have to start thinking about the good. You have to think about, well, this is good because now I can catch up on this. And this is good because now I can have a greenhouse. And this is good for me because I'm inherently lazy. So, there's a lot of good things in the midst of icky things. So those are the things then that we have to think about and keep changing our brain to those. We have to talk to other people about them and talk to ourselves about them, because that can lift us up and help us be strong again, with not being able to accept and accepting, but then accepting with such anger. And every single thing that happens to us teaches us something. So we are constantly learning about ourselves. Now, you might want to say, well, what I learned is that he's a jerk. Well, no, that's not
Are
really.
you talking about me?
Yeah, we're talking about Jim. That's not really what we learned. What we learned has to be about ourselves. I learned that I'm defensive when somebody talks to me about my weight. I learned that I get angry and stop talking. And maybe that's not what I need to do. Maybe what I need to do is address things and try to address them calmly. Or I learned that I get angry and start shouting, or whatever it is. But there's something in the midst of this that we learn about ourselves. So there has to be introspection also. And I think that we have to learn something positive. That I learned that I am strong enough to deal with this. Each one of us is strong enough to see COVID through. And we can deal with anything that comes. Most of you I know already have. You've already had those heavy knockdowns and you dealt with it. So learn something positive. And that's it. That's all I want to say is, first you have to accept what has happened, what is going on in your life, the place where you are. Then you have to accept it with grace. And that's the tough one. Always find the positive and learn something wonderful about yourself. So we can all talk now. Let's go.
I want to accept with grace.
Yes, Thursday here in Massachusetts in Waltham, we have to, if we go outside our house now, we have to wear a mask. It's no longer, if you're walking by yourself, you have to have a mask on at all times now because the numbers are so great. And it was yesterday was a very angry day in this area. Because of that, people not willing to accept that another added restriction to our lives, if you want to call it a restriction. But it is. Many of us, many people didn't accept just wearing a mask when you go into the store or any place. Now they have to accept wearing them all the time. As soon as you walk out your house door, you have to have a mask on. The police were stopping. There's a $300 fine if you do not. So learning, if you don't start with that accepting, there is no way you're going to accept anything.
Right.
I mean, you don't appreciate. I think it comes down to appreciating what we had before, or what we do have in our lives, and what we can do with that is ahead of us.
That's good, Jim. Anybody else want to jump in? Not about masks, just about accepting.
In order to accept with grace, you have to be able to balance. And the accept with grace movement gives you an opportunity to transition from accepting to accepting with grace, because you can start by just bringing your foot off the bottom of the pool just a little and tap it right back down. And until you are able to fully balance and truly embrace the grace. And learning to balance is hard, especially if we are way off balance. And anger puts us off balance. Stress puts us off balance. All these things that put us off balance, and we need to balance. And that doesn't mean that the stuff we're angry about goes away, or the stress factor vanishes. But yet we have to balance the importance of those features in our life so that we can accept with grace and move forward.
Thank you. Putting the I Chi together with this is great. I hadn't
Good
even
job.
thought of that. No?
That was great. That was a really good explanation of that. It's true. The loss, as you were saying, the things that we used to have compared to the things we have now, we still have so many of those things and need to be thankful for that. And the thought of finding balance is the challenge. And so that's why I like going back to the I Chi thought of, okay, you've accepted, maybe slightly, but now you have to find balance. And so rock a little, rock sideways, rock forward and backwards, and push through your ball there and see where you can go from there. Yeah, I think that's, so many people are doing that right now. I see so many people trying different ways of, like today I saw that there's a auto show at the Raceway here in Richmond. So how are they doing that? They're doing a drive-through. You get to touch the truck from the car. It kind of seemed like a neat idea. So that's, finding balance, finding some other way to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Thank you all for being there to talk to about that.
Yeah, when Barb mentioned the I Chi connection with what's been going on, it makes me think of when you do I Chi, and I haven't had the pleasure, I haven't been in a pool in a very long time, I miss it so much. We're going to start exploring what's going on at the Y in Cumberland very soon. The thing you have to do, and that's hard, is slowing down to balance. The slowing down is what COVID is all about to me, and I'm actually really grateful because I felt like life was accelerating faster, and even though I'm getting older and older and older, life was getting faster and faster. My career, my job, my responsibilities, and it was actually getting kind of terrifying. And I enjoy the challenge and seeing if I could do it, but it was so mentally exhausting and very hard. Like all of my free time was spent recovering from all of that overstimulus of what I was responsible to do. And now I feel like I can breathe and I can think. And if I'm fuzzy headed, I have time to be fuzzy headed. I really appreciate that. And I was able to do incredible things I never could have done, like make my own wedding dress, which it was 11 p.m. the night before, a week ago Saturday, and I was finishing the last few stitches, and it's not perfect, but in the pictures, it's like, I'm thrilled. And it's like, that was a personal goal, but the bigger goal was, how do you take a pandemic and do something normal? Like, I don't want it to stop me from getting married. We wanted the date 10/10/2020 because that was a cool number. And that was the 10-year anniversary of meeting each other. How do you make this work? So we started, 6 months before, or 4 or 5 months before. How do you make this work? And having that blessing of time and some space to think and to, even though a lot of stuff has been taken away, it was a lot cheaper to have a small COVID wedding, like there are so many blessings. And we took pictures and videos, and we're going to send out to family who couldn't be there. We sent an announcement saying we're going to send you pictures and videos, but everyone touching the race car, touching the, whatever that is, those are the creative things we now can come up with to how do we skirt around the rules? Follow the rules. We don't want to spread COVID. But how do we find everything to me is a design problem that has a solution. Every problem has a solution, and then having the time to be able to think it out in a very elegant way, very graceful way. And IG is definitely all that. And
nice thoughts.
I would like to rewind a little bit by Ruth, something that touched me, and I think that you said that's so important, is that you said that we've already had the heavy knockdowns. And isn't that true? Haven't we? I mean, before COVID in our lives, haven't we already had heavy knockdowns? So we know we can survive. And the biggest thing is if we use creativity and we elevate the concept of utilizing creativity with ethics, I think the other area that I am really focused on is, who do I want to really spend time with and be with? I'm evaluating very much, ethical behavior, how we treat each other, how we talk to each other. This has become a real focus for me in my personal life with my friends, but also in business. How to deal with vendors. Again, all over the world, but differently. The one thing that I've really found important is always start the email with, "I hope you and yours are well," so that it communicates caring and a basis of humanity. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to say that.
I appreciate hearing that. Thank you.
One of my favorites is being in the moment. And when I do Chi and when I'm accepting, I have to be in the moment. But if I'm in the moment, and if it's, some moments are just such a blessing, then it can create such a wonderful memory that I hold in my body. Or it could be a difficult memory. But I think about the moments and how moments really make memories. And it's beautiful that we get to live this life a moment at a time, or a breath at a time. So that's what I think today.
Thank you, Mary.
Very beautiful.
Well, I get up in the morning.
Patty's going to talk.
When I get up in the morning, and especially even today, this is such a blessing and so much to be grateful for, to be able to get up and come to this world. And I think it's beautiful, but that's accepting. But I get up and I think, what's the most important thing I can do today? And it's not always, you can't always do everything that you really want to do. And you have to set priorities, and you have to understand what your limitations are. And when the fear factor comes in, it's time to say, do you have to make this as hard? Don't make this so hard. And stop and start doing the breath work if it's really going to be too much. But definitely accept and give it time before you can even accept with grace. Because that's going to be even more difficult. I mean, this is all the kind of things I make a little bit of a list most of the time before I go to bed at night. But in COVID, it's a definite flow, moment by moment.
Right.
So I've been in, when I find when I find joy, I just keep, I can really get on the joy. I've let my butterflies go. All my butterflies are gone now, except amazingly, I saw one, about 4 days ago, right at the corner of my street. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. Because it's really cold here now. I mean, they're gone. So, we just have to put one foot. Sometimes it's extremely hard to get out of bed.
Right.
So don't get out of bed.
No, you have to get out of bed. It's very
Stay there. It's getting, especially where you are, it's getting cold out. You're nice and
You have to get out of bed every day. You have to get out of bed. There's no not getting out of bed.
Well, the fact that you're able to make those choices, if you want to stay in bed, you can, or if not. I know one thing somebody was saying, you can tell you're antisocial if your life isn't that different before or after COVID.
Yeah, it's true.
Because I find that I don't, a lot of people have problems being alone, and I don't. I enjoy it. And the fact that out on the street and everything, things are quieter, people aren't all over, and I find that refreshing personally. You can go out to dinner and maybe there's two other couples there or something in your space. Some of that is, for me, easy to accept. Speaking of accepting.
Yeah.
I love hiding behind a mask. I think it's great to if you
Yeah.
don't want to be seen, you can go out in public. You can walk into a bank with a mask on. It's great. And you don't feel like you just hog.
There are some good things about it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people said, oh, after the COVID, we're going to do things differently now. Once it's gone, we're going to be kinder and better to the environment and all that. But I'm finding that people are forgetting that, and they're going back to old ways, which is unfortunate, because I think it is an opportunity to rethink how we treat people and the environment and all that kind of thing. But it just got lost on some people. I guess they just got disgusted with having to make changes. They wanted their old life back, which is unfortunate. So,
And we know you never get the same thing back anyway.
well, true. It'll
Ruth,
be.
I've always said a new day, a new opportunity.
There you go. So, Margaret, you've been very quiet. Any comments? Just because it's cold in Oklahoma, you're not speaking?
No, it's just I have to have my mute off because my dog keeps on barking at people walking on the sidewalk. No, I've just got a new saying for 2020. It's not a new saying, but it is what it is. And that's what my day is. I go to work and units are closed because we've got kids testing positive now, which we're really trying to stop that. But everything has to change with your schedule and stuff. And you just got to go each day and go with what you got and just move on.
It is what it is. Thanks, Margaret.
Yeah.
Renee, you want to jump in? Oh, she went to sleep.
Sure. No, I didn't go to sleep. Sure. I think, that we need to take extra time and remember those people who are extra fearful, usually the widows, the widowers, the people who live alone and have succumbed to the total fear, who don't know IT, I think sometimes we need to be the face of accepting and grace, and we need to call them because otherwise they could be sitting in their backyard talking to the dragonfly because there's no one else around. So I think if we are the face of accepting grace and we share that, we could be just as contagious as the fear that's going around.
Oh, that's great.
Wow.
Yeah, Renee's women's ministry does a lot of positive things. And what they're seeing is that people are, well, Renee, you can talk about the fear.
Sure. I have a group, I had a group of Silver Sneakers people prior to COVID. They're all elderly. Most of them are widows. These ladies, when I say elderly, are in their 80s and 90s. They're afraid to go out. So they sit in their backyard and talk to dragonflies. But a number of them have wound up in the hospital with symptoms like they can't move, they can't eat, they're nauseous, they're just having all of these symptoms, but they go to the hospital and it's not COVID. They have fear. And fear is gripping to the very depths of their intestines. And as hard as they try, because they know that they've been through they've been through a lot in their lives. They've had losses and they've suffered terrible things. But this fear that is gripping them, it's an invisible thing, and they don't know that it's there, and they don't have anybody to really discuss it with or give them a hug. So they wind up ill, they wind up in the hospital, and then they go home and find out that there's nothing wrong with it, which is even worse, to have these symptoms and have somebody tell you, well, there's nothing wrong with you. So I try to call them periodically and check on them and make sure they're okay. And they will wind up talking for at least an hour. So, and the same with our women's ministry. They are starting to succumb to the fear. So COVID is not only a real virus, but it is a fear virus that you can't see, but you could fix. You can fix because I listen to Ruth so much, I feel like I'm channeling you, Ruth. Okay, so if you have hope in your life, and there is hope, just like with I Chi, with accepting and grace, there is hope. And as long as you have that, you can dispel the fear. So that's what our women's ministry is trying to do, and hopefully, I know Ruth is also trying to do the same kind of thing, is making us the face of accepting and grace. And my ministry is faith, hope, and promises. So I have a picture of people, and then they have to put their face in that picture because they are the face of hope and grace.
Wow.
Nice. Thank you, Renee.
You're welcome.
Lupita, did you want to jump in? Or are you at one of your daughters?
No, I'm just listening to everything and processing what everyone is saying. And what keeps coming to my mind is just stuff my grandmother and my father would tell me, is we're but just a small speck in the elements of this huge universe, and all we can do is do our part and do it well. And hopefully that can transcend to other people around us, but keeping positive and not trying to swim upstream, but just go with the flow and maintain a level of positivity and trying to reach out to as many people as possible, but still understand that we can't control what's out there. We can just go with the flow and help those around us. We are just such a small speck in the entity of this large universe. And the more that we can transcend our positive message and do our part, hopefully that'll just transpire to other people around us. But to live in fear without hope can't change what is. We
Right.
can just work with what's there, but we can't change it.
Thanks, Lupita. And I see Carol came on, but I think, Carol, I might have been done talking by the time you got on. Do you have any words of wisdom for us? No. I think Carol maybe has microphone issues like Jim did for the last 2 times. This time we get to hear from him. And
Yeah.
Mary Jane, I know that she has weak bandwidth, so can't jump in very well, but do you have any words of wisdom for us?
I'm not sure how wise they are, but I would love to share a conversation that my grown son in Portland, Oregon called last week to see how I was doing. And he amazing perspective on everything and a phrase. So one of the things we discussed was one phrase is feathering your nest. And you can take it as literal for your physical surroundings or your mind to feather your nest, or attitude, and it just brings a whole new perspective on everything.
Thanks, Mary Jane. Yeah, feather your nest. And I see that some of you are taking this time to do this. Did you want to say more, Mary Jane?
I don't know how much I'm breaking up, but that was just an inspirational conversation for me, and I thoroughly enjoyed him.
Miss you, Mary Jane.
Getting ready for the fall.
Yeah.
Getting ready for the winter. Feather that nest.
I hadn't thought of that. By the way, thank you, you Northerners, for sending the songbirds down. One of the biggest changes for me, well, there are so many changing. I mean, I lived in probably 6 different northern states and then came to Florida. And this was the only time I was it took me a couple of years to figure things out. I was driving out of our homeowners associate, whatever it's called. And there were a couple of cranes crossing the road. So I stopped to wait for them. So one crossed in front of my car, and I'm talking Explorer. So you know I'm not low to the ground. The other one's walking right past me, and I look and we're eye to eye. Birds are this big, right? My northern brain says birds, okay. and to have a bird look me in the eye, yeah, that was, anyway, it's fun in the right now. And then again, I think around February we get songbirds, and I really enjoy it.
They're going to start talking to you.
I'm going to say hi, Dad.
Yeah. Anybody else want to jump in with anything before we go?
Oh, Ruth, this is just an FYI for you. Not that I'm excluding people, but there is a wellness center in Doylestown. Doylestown Hospital has a wellness center called Cornerstone, and they have a lap pool and they have a warm water pool. And interestingly, the woman I learned I Chi from learned it from a woman who was teaching it at Cornerstone. And this was years ago. And I don't think that woman's still there, but if you need to get in the water when you're up in Doylestown, look up Cornerstone.
Thank you. I love this. You guys are all helping me figure things out. Anybody else need anything figured out before?
Yeah, me. I always need things figured out.
Because you're a boy. Boys.
I know. It's been tough for me during these last 6-7 months. You know, I'm missing DC. I'm missing Chicago. I'm missing Fort Myers. I'm missing San Diego. I'm missing
Right.
but then I'm missing Lapita. I'm missing Renee. I can't argue with Renee on the computer. I'd make a fool of myself. You know, I'm missing all
Did we
my
tell him?
peeps.
He does
I mean,
anyway.
I can't accept that. There's no way I'm accepting that. I'm not. And forget about accepting it with grace. I mean, there's no way that's going to happen. I mean, come on. You gotta give me some room here for that.
But if you think about it, you're home and Kathy is able to tell you what to think every day. So there you go. You're set.
No, not yet. We actually, you know, it's funny you bring that up. We did have a conversation and how our conversations have changed. After 40 years of marriage, and we started thinking about this, and the conversations have changed, you know. Same conversations that is still the same, but there's a different tone to them. There's not a I know everything, or she knows everything, or, you know, most of the time she's on the computer with her students, and, you know, I'm going to Y and rehabbing my knee and stuff, so, at the therapy, so, but, yeah, I think this time has allowed, I hope, I'd like to speak for everybody, but I hope everybody, this time has allowed us to just accept the way we have mistreated each other, but, you know, not physically, but not accepted how much another individual contributes to how well we are. As Renee was saying, you know, with her older individuals she works with, we can be that accepting person, even within our families. So
that's the hardest.
Yes, it is. It's very hard, especially when you live in a small house. I feel bad for Bud, but, you know, I'm sure he's accepting everything with grace right now.
Aren't we trying?
I haven't heard him
It's
this
interesting
morning,
that you say we have different kinds of conversations, or our conversations are different. So Sharon, get ready.
Okay. They are.
Years, your conversations are going to be different.
Well, we've been together for 10 years, so, you know, this was, yeah. But
yeah,
I noticed that on the honeymoon, conversations were a little bit gentler, a little bit kinder. I think there was like a beautiful glow and appreciation. You know, there's so much to be grateful for. And, you know, there are magic moments. I'm thinking of what Renee was saying, like, sometimes you get an idea and you're like, oh, that's ridiculous. It'll be hard to communicate it. But then I tend to like to push through and do something ridiculous anyways, because I'm all about that. I have no stage fright. So we have two neighbors who are widowers. We just bought our home, and it's my first home, and I can't believe I'm a homeowner, because it's been a dream my entire life, and it never was possible until this May. And then we have widowers on both sides, and one's in their 70s, one's in their 80s, and the sweetest people. So we, about once a month, the one lady we meet with a mask on and we talk, and the other lady, you know, lost her husband a year ago. So the morning we were setting up before the wedding, the one widower came over with crying because she saw we were getting ready. Her daughter got married a year ago in October, and she just, because we sent invitations to them that weren't really invitations, just like, it's weird to send we're having this wedding, but you're not invited kind of thing. We just want to let you know if you want to look out your window. It's hard to explain. You look out your window, you can stand on your property line, but please don't come over. Like, how do you say that without sounding rude? The other lady, when we went out the front door and walked around to the back, because everything was happening in the back, so Brad went one way and I went the other, and we met in the middle and then went up and got married. And as we walked out the front door, the other widower was filming us. So we need to get a copy of her little cell phone film. And then she just emailed me last night saying, we would love, pictures and stuff. So it's just like, to get to do something normal in the middle of all this abnormality, a wedding to me is a normal thing, That's like normal, great things that humans do. And just inviting who you can, and they can send a drone, and that's fine. Yeah.
This just feeds my soul. I appreciate you all taking the time. Carol said she can only get on through her phone and doesn't have a microphone or pictures. So I just love the little chats going on here. And yeah, it's 2 weeks. Halloween. We're back.
Do we
Got
have
it?
to wear costumes?
Halloween.
Do we have to wear costumes?
Oh, costumes. That's a good idea.
We'll wear our masks. Yeah, I'll have to wear a costume. Okay.
Thank you, Ruth. This has been wonderful.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Mo. It's each of you has made it wonderful. So I appreciate it. And thanks again, Mary, for letting everybody.
Oh, it's been wonderful. I love it. I love to be useful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary,
Yes.
Mary, can I ask you about your house? I love the woodworking
Pretty.
inside, the ceiling, and is that through the whole house? Is it?
No, that's this Dan, beautiful Dan. I'm a widow, and when I married this man many years ago, we were married 31 years, and then he's been gone 9, so it must have been 40 years ago. Anyway, he built this room for me. Underneath it is a sunken patio. So he built this room that's 24 by 24 over that sunken patio. So the structure beneath is my garage. But this is Western cedar. And he went out and loaded his S10 pickup with all this Western cedar. And he came down, and I think the thing was about on the ground. So he left this, he built it, and he loved it, and he was always the bargain buster. And I told him, I said, let's not make it a bargain thing. We're going to have it for a long time, so let's do what we want to do. And there are beautiful windows on this side that look out into my backyard, and it's wonderful. I love this room. I sit
It's
here
gorgeous. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
But it's Western cedar, and it has the Western cedar ceiling and walls. And then over on this side is the brick wall of the house, of the room. So,
Cool.
anyway,
Fabulous.
I guess I could get up and walk around, but it's, I've been in my home for 44 years, and I was going to move about 4 years ago, and I got everything moved, and then I called the mover and said, I can't go. I have to have you move the stuff back.
Wonderful.
I love that.
So
That's a lesson in accepting.
sometimes we move out and we have to come back, and it's what is in our heart. And I'm with widowers. I have a lady that's really grieving, a friend that I met, and she was married 53 years, and they were together. And she talks about how sad, but I told her, I said, this is the year that you look at the seasons. You got to go through all the seasons of grief, and people will be there for you. But anyway, thank you for telling me that, and I do love this room. I need to clean it.
I do too.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for letting us all into your homes.
Well, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right.
Okay, I'll be here.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.